The rave scene in the UK originated in the late 1980s when a group of DJs returned from a summer clubbing in Ibiza, where they were introduced to the drug ecstasy along with the already booming club scene there. The England they returned to was one nearing the end of its third consecutive term of Conservative government under Thatcher's rule. Some theorise that the rave subculture appeared as a reaction to the hegemony of conservative Britain, but others suggest it is in fact the drug ecstasy which is more responsible. Raves such as this one, an illegal warehouse rave in Manchester in 1989, were almost completely fueled by the already Class A drug. 1989 was branded the second summer of love due to the sudden boom of the acid house scene and the drug-fueled but not alcohol-fueled illegal raves such as this one. Since this time, popular club culture has shifted away from illicit drugs, instead using alcohol as its primary stimulant. This is the case nowadays in most clubs and venues, a transition which came about as a result of the commercialization and regulation of club culture in the name of safety and security. With the rising popularity of alcohol consumption in clubs, arguably came a rise in antisocial behaviour, criminal damage and general cost to the taxpayer. Irresponsible drinking reportedly costing the taxpayer $21 billion per year. In 1994, the Criminal Justice Act banned public gatherings wholly or predominantly characterised by the emission of a succession of repetitive beats where over 100 people were present. This was in response to the moral panic in the media over ecstasy deaths and ravers and raves being a threat to civilised society. The Act succeeded in severely reducing the number and size of free parties, but they are still around if you know where to look. The free party scene in the UK is being ever diminished, with further laws allowing police to confiscate sound equipment and harsher clampdowns on drug taking. The purpose of these parties are the same as those of the original raves. They exist as a sanctuary, a free space free from the constraints of society and from money and responsibility. A transgressive space which transcends social class, background, unifying everyone in a display of rebellion from a society which they view as sick. Their aim, together with the quest for pleasure, is to abolish or subvert rules and transgress social order and prohibitions. This footage is from the Ebola Halloween rave in Bristol, an event advertised through social media and word of mouth. It was named such in order to disturb and offend in a public and open display of non-conformity. The name mirrors the ideals behind free party culture of freedom, hedonism, subversion and transgression. Foucault's idea of a heterotopia can be applied to raves and free parties. Heterotopias are places which function in non-hegemonic conditions. They are effectively an enacted utopia in which the real sites are simultaneously represented, contested and inverted. Raves meet the criteria for heterotopias, as they can be both isolated and accessible, public and hidden. To gain access to one of these places, certain gestures must be made and certain expectations met. They are constituted by a disorganisation of presences and absences consisting of diffused individuals within an inherently transgressive group, engaging in mass trespass. Contemporary sociologists generally agree that raves are either nearing extinction in the UK or that they have merged with the club scene and become more controlled, regulated spaces. The definition of rave is much contested, and there exists a discrepancy between definitions given by policymakers and government professionals and those who are more closely connected to rave culture, such as original ravers from the Generation X. Anderson lays out several components which establish the authenticity of a rave. First is the unique shared belief behind the rave culture. The peace, love, unity and respect ethos was one adopted by ravegoers, derived from the 60s era of liberalism, freedom of expression and tolerance and acceptance. The second distinguishing factor is the method of organisation. Raves are organised by insiders in a grassroots manner with the intention of remaining unknown by authorities. These days, social media is used as the main method of organising illegal raves, though police do now scour websites like Facebook in order to locate such events. Another defining factor is the presence of a large number of participants, and the final characteristic is the adoption of a deviant, transgressive set of values and behaviours. Dancing at raves is very different from other dance events. Instead of courtship activities, people dance individually but still in unison. The lack of value of hooking up activities at raves is a significant factor distinguishing them from other events, but can be explained partly by their ethos and also partly by the use of illegal drugs. Free parties and raves, despite what some academics may tell you, are still occurring frequently throughout the UK in various shapes and forms. Free parties spread by word of mouth and located in fields or on private land meet all of Anderson's distinguishing factors, as do the illegal warehouse raids which are still regularly taking place here in Bristol.